I was thinking it was going to be like a liftoff. Hello, Mike Cohen. Good afternoon.
Aloha.
Mahalo for joining us today. Today's joint AEN Waterland hearing on Monday, January 29th, 2024 at 1 p.m. here in room 229. It's our first joint hearing for the 2024 session. And so we are also video conferencing, which includes the audio and video of remote participants that's being streamed live on YouTube. You'll find links to the viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website at capitol.hawaii.gov. And because of our 90-minute time limit for each of the AEN hearings, there will be a 2-minute time limit for all testifiers, and we'll have a virtual countdown timer on the Zoom screen, so please be aware of the timer. All right, starting off, the first bill we have scheduled for today's discussion is Senate Bill 2501 relating to the Hawaii Invasive Species Council, requiring the Hawaii HISC to prioritize the protection of exceptional trees. And so first up to testify is Chelsea Arnott from HISC. Welcome, Chelsea. Aloha.
Look familiar.
Hasn't been that long.
Yes.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Yes, it hasn't been that long since our invasive species info briefing last Friday, which was wonderful. Chelsea Arnott here on behalf of the Hawaii Invasive Species Council as program support staff, providing comments on behalf of the Hawaii Invasive Species Council. And I just want to highlight a few of the comments for this measure. And I want to make sure to talk about the purpose of the Hawaii Invasive Species Council, which was established by the legislature in 2003 by Hawaii Revised Statute 194 with the special purpose of providing policy-level coordination and planning for the control and eradication of harmful invasive species. The measure that we have proposed of adding language for protection of exceptional trees to the Hawaii Revised Statute 194 could prove an inherent conflict. When you look at Act 58 or HRS 58, it mandates each county to establish a county arborist advisory committee, and it has on there the designation of what constitutes an exceptional tree, which is historic or cultural historic or cultural value, age, rarity, location, size, aesthetic quality, and endemic status. Nowhere on there does it have any designation to or requirements of whether a species is considered invasive or doing an assessment if it could be potentially high risk for invasion. So the Hawaii Invasive Species Council could, under this, end up protecting species of trees that are considered invasive. Also under Hawaii Revised Statute 58, as I mentioned, it establishes a county arborist advisory committee which enacts regulations to protect trees of exceptional stature. And each county has its own program, set of rules and operating guidelines. And so we would be duplicating the efforts of the county by creating language under the HISC statute that would also allow us to protect and do this designation. Lastly, I understand, and HISC recognizes the need to protect trees of historic, cultural, and environmental value from pest species such as coconut rhinoceros beetle and little fire
Sorry,
ant.
Chelsea, your time's
Oh,
up.
apologies. Thank you.
stick around
And you
for
have my
Q&A.
testimony.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much, Chelsea. Next is Brian Miyamoto from Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Aloha. Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committees. I'm Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. You have our written testimony in support of the intent. We have similar questions and concerns as Hawaii Invasive Species Council. Something that you didn't bring up, I believe, is the county list can be different. So from county to county, exceptional trees can be different. One of our questions that we do have is, we do support protecting exceptional trees, but we're unclear if the bill is asking for HISC to make protecting exceptional trees their priority, or if exceptional trees are prioritized over other trees. If you look on page 5, line 17, it's unclear. It says one of their mandates is to prioritize the protection of exceptional trees. Does that mean that's the priority for HISC? It's just unclear. But we want to take this opportunity to advocate for more funding for HISC. Thank you for all of the briefings and all of the hearings on invasive species. I have here something I've referenced before. A resolution from 2001, okay, requesting the Legislative Reference Bureau to study the policy recommendation and funding options for a comprehensive invasive species protection and control program for the state of Hawaii. Here's the report that was filed in 2022. Something to highlight is in 2002, it stated that the cost to effectively fight invasive species in Hawaii for 1 year is $49,847,000, $50 million in 2002. We asked, why are we where we are today? Because it costed $50 million. The estimate was $50 million to address invasive species in 2002. It is 2024. Thank you for all the focus and attention. Invasive species is devastating agriculture, our environment, and our fragile ecosystem. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, any questions? That's all we have. Okay. Moving on to the second bill, Senate Bill 2053. This appropriates, relating to environmental protection, this appropriates funds for the construction and operation of non-chemical sunscreen dispensers on all state beaches, allows DLNR to contract or form a partnership with private parties to assist with the maintenance and management of sunscreen dispensers at all state beaches. Okay, and that we have, starting off with David Sakota from DLNR. Is David here?
Yeah, we'll stand on our written testimony in support.
In support. Thank you, David.
Sorry, offering comments.
Thank you. Alexandra Kahn from Planet Branding. In support. Ted Boland from the Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition. Hello, Ted.
Aloha, Chair Gabbard, Chair Inoue.
Aloha.
Aloha, Vice Chair Richards, Vice Chair Elefante. Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition was actively involved in 2018 in the first bill banning the sale of certain chemical sunscreens which are harmful to the reef, specifically oxybenzone and octinoxate. Since then, we've learned there are several other chemical sunscreens on the market, widely circulated, that are also harmful to the reefs. And we should do what we can to try to encourage people to use non-chemical sunscreens, which are safer for the reef. There is an argument made that, oh, people will not use sunscreens and therefore they'll get skin cancer. Well, actually, a lot of the sunscreens are biased toward the UVB rays that protect you against sunburn, not the UVA broad spectrum that protects against skin cancer more. And so you actually spend more time in the sun and maybe have more skin cancer risk as a result of that. It's sunscreen abuse. And so we want to give people the opportunity to use a sunscreen that is safe for them and for the reef. And I urge you to pass this bill to provide that at dispensers at the beaches. High Rock would add an amendment, which is we should give some information at the dispensers as to why we're doing this, why it makes sense. And I would urge, given in my testimony a short sentence or phrase that would explain that. But basically just say, let's have some information provided on the dispenser or near the dispenser so that people know why we're urging the adoption of reef-safe sunscreens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. Next is Lynn Miyahira from Public Access to Sunscreens. Lynn.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify. We're just providing comment today. I should mention that I am representing the public access to sunscreens. So we do support the intent of literally public access to sunscreens. These are dispensers. But I just want to note that, as an avid sunscreen user myself, we're just questioning the premise. So I understand that there have been some studies that have shown that UV filters can cause harm to coral reef. However, they were done in labs that were, you crank up the concentration, you kind of show anything harms coral reefs at that point. So we just want to caution lawmakers and you understand that reef safe sunscreen is actually it's a marketing tool. It's not a scientifically defined term. And so it doesn't have a meaningful definition. And we're also just a little curious why mineral sunscreen got kind of upheld as the reef safe option, because there's also studies that have shown that zinc oxide can be harmful to fish. It is harmful to animals if ingested. So we're just a little curious as to why zinc oxide and, titanium dioxide are being held. They're heavy metals. So we're just wondering how that got to be the reef-safe option. But bottom line is that we support the intent of sunscreen dispensers in public areas, and we prefer people to wear any sunscreen rather than none. So we just want to make sure that our legislators are aware, again, that reef-safe sunscreen is not a scientifically defined term. It's a marketing tool. And I think both sides can agree it's been used kind of fast and loose around. And so, and we know that there's a lot of other factors impacting our coral reefs, like cesspools, wastewater management, protecting, overfishing of certain species that are really important and are going to have a much greater impact on our coral reefs. And so we need to really focus our attention there. So we do support a lot of many of the other efforts, and it's going to take a team effort, right? We understand that, to help our coral reefs, from land runoff, storm runoff, cesspools. It's a whole mix of things that are hurting our coral reefs. So we just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to testify and provide comment.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Ulani Naipo is in support. Joe DiNardo, toxicologist, is in support. Ben Robinson in support. Okay, members, any questions? I've got a question for DLNR. So the question, should we expand this to also include chemical-based sunscreens that have not been banned by the state?
Brian Nielsen, Administrator for Division of Aquatic Resources. I appreciate that there's still some debate and more research needed to be done on sunscreen, but I think there is enough evidence on the impacts of some of the harmful ingredients in sunscreen that, leaving this as is for mineral-based sunscreen, and there is viable options on the market. I think leaving it as is, is something that we should just stick with at this time.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, we're moving on to SB 2159, relating to food sustainability, requiring the Department of Ag in coordination with OPSD to prepare and periodically update the State Agricultural Functional Plan to include other ag economic updates, including seafood sustainability that expand the state's priority on food by including wild seafood as a viable food source. Okay, and starting off, we have Mary Alice Evans from the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Office of Planning stands on our
You have to come and speak on the mic. Sorry.
Even if it's short.
It's not gonna bite you.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, members
Aloha.
of the committee. My name is Danielle Bass here on behalf of Mary Alice Evans. The Office of Planning and Sustainable Development stands on our testimony in support of this measure. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sharon Hurd, Department of Ag.
Good afternoon, Chairs Gabbard and Inoue, Vice Chairs Richards and Elefante, members of the committee. My name is Sharon Hurd, Chairperson, Department of Agriculture. Good afternoon.
Dexter Kishida, Deputy to the Chair.
Okay, we stand on our submitted testimony with highlighting two things, the comments and amendments. The comment that we'd like to highlight is that the department has no role in regulating pelagic fisheries and no authority to set policy, establish objectives, or enforcement action on seafood sustainability. The amendment we're asking is that the measure be revised to delete the update of the State Agriculture Functional Plan and focus on the gathering of data and information by an agency such as the Division of Aquatic Resources for Open Ocean Wild Seafood. Another comment is that the USDA at this time does not recognize wild seafood as part of their purview. So it would be, the USDA doesn't recognize it, and it would be difficult for the Department of Agriculture to then gather data. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Charles Ice, testifying for the Environmental Caucus of the Democratic Party. Is Charles here? No? In support, Brian Miyamoto from Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We are in support of this measure. We testified on this issue previously, and I always bring the last state plan, functional plan for agriculture, dated 1991. I don't even know if this font exists anymore. However, if I may read, it's not in our testimony, review and revision within the actual plan. In order to be responsive to constantly changing needs and conditions, functional plans are subject to review and revision at least every 2 years. Every 2 years. That means we've got about 16 updates that we've missed. Agriculture has changed quite a bit since 1991. And again, including wild seafood, that's great because it'll help us achieve our goals of doubling food production, increasing purchasing at DOE and at other state agencies, increasing institutional purchasing, helping our farm to food bank program, helping with the box program. But we need a plan. Again, 1991, sugar and pineapple are the highlights in here. It's an old plan. It's supposed to be updated every 2 years. I think it's fair to ask for an update. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Brian. Lauren Zerbel from the Hawaii Food Industry Association offers comments. Warren Chang in support. Sunny Savage in support. There's some late testimony from Clayton Kubo in support. Angela Melody Young from Roar. Comments? Hi, Angela.
Good afternoon, Angela Melody Young on behalf of ROAR, Rescue of Animal Rights. This act requires the State Ag Functional Plan to include additional economic updates, including updates on seafood sustainability. And this plan has not been updated since the 90s. So ROAR is just going to say that it's not necessary to delegate this work as a new assignment to the offices, as it will be duplicative of the work that is already accomplished by NOAA. So you can, there's a link in my testimony. And CARES proposes that the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, in collaboration with Department of Ag, should access NOAA's research from the Office of the Pacific Islands Regional Office. And so the office has performed comprehensive research studies in the Hawaii seafood industry, fishery management, commercial and non-commercial, planning and goals to end overfishing, data on maintaining sustainable fisheries, fishing regulations, permits and authorizations, economic and environmental analysis, and support for offshore aquaculture and education and training for fishermen, recovering planning, critical habitat designation, and other conservation activity. And also sustainable fisheries management globally. So I think this work from NOAA's office can be very helpful.
Thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
Next is Wendy Gady from ADC.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Wendy Davies.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members, Wendy Gady, ADC. We stand in support of this measure. We stand with our testimony.
Thank you very much. And that's all the testifiers we have on 2159. Members, are there any questions?
I have a question, Farm Bureau. Brian? Did you say the last update to the plan was 1991?
Thank you, Senator. According to our record, yes, this is the most recent plan.
Okay. I was on the state's policy and functional plans, so in the 1980s, during the period that we did the 12 functional plans. Now, so I would assume that the agriculture portion out of the 12 probably was revisited again in 1991. DOA. Sharon, Chair, you can stay. So most of the functional plans in all the, one of the 12s or all of the 12, some has been updated. Wouldn't you folks consider though updating the plan, whether you would include some of the language here that you made comments on?
Sharon Hurd, Department of Agri. Senator, yes, we're not opposed to the
Yes, okay.
Evaluation. We're opposed to the inclusion of wild seafood because it is difficult to gather data, probably impossible to gather data for wild seafood.
Okay, you also mentioned in your testimony that probably would, from DLNR, would be appropriate in addressing this issue?
More appropriate than the Department of Agriculture, Senator.
Tar, you want to comment? Thank you, Chair.
Brian Nielsen, Administrator for Division of Aquatic Resources. So the question was whether DAR is more appropriate in
Yeah.
addressing,
The updates or this, I guess, the seafood,
yeah,
the wild seafood.
is part of our mandate. We do collect information on all the commercial fishing catch and sales. So we do have that information and are happy to support the plan.
Can you guys get together with DOA then? Eventually, work
Yes.
on a plan? Because 1991, I mean, I was mayor that time, and that's many years. So I think we gotta skip and do something differently as a senator, the next step. But I think we need to work on it.
Okay,
Maybe you guys get together. Okay?
thank you.
All right?
Yep.
Yes, Senator.
DOA, please. Chair, can you tell me what you guys do to increase food sustainability with seafood?
Well, the aquaculture program, through the permitting process, does approve the new species coming in. It's a difficult process, so we do that, bring in new species that the entrepreneurs want to have considered as a fast-growing, fast-marketing commodity for aquaculture. We've also approached NELHA and asked for their assistance in doubling food production because they have the research and the technology that they're doing very well at.
No, I know what NELHA doing. I want to know what the Department of Ag is doing to increase the seafood sustainability.
Beyond aquaculture?
Yes.
Okay. Todd, is that something you could address?
Sorry, beyond the aquaculture?
Yeah.
We don't be focused on aquaculture.
No, I talking within aquaculture. What are you guys doing to increase the seafood sustainability within the department?
Seafood.
Thank you. I'm Todd Lowe, Department of Ag, Aquaculture Development. So what we do as a group, we do two things. We're facilitating the commercial development of aquaculture, and then I think we're starting to focus more on restorative aquaculture. But for the commercial side, one of the initiatives that we're pushing now is more feed development, because that's a key component, or one of the arguably the largest components to the aquaculture operations is feed, next to labor. So we're supporting the ADC's feed mill, and we're also now working with developing more with the black soldier flies to reduce feed costs. That's, I think, where we don't have direct impact on production, but we're trying to work on the foundational pieces that affect it.
So is your department doing that, or is ADC doing that?
Right now, ADC's project is the feed mill. It's a leftover from Mr. Nakatani's time. But our mandate is aquaculture development.
Are you guys going to be having funding within your budget to help promote that?
The promotion of the,
Is it going into your budget? Is it being requested in your budget to promote that aquaculture component in the feedstock?
This budget, we do not have an aquaculture bill from the department.
I know you don't want to bill. I said, is it in your budget requests?
No.
That don't look too good if you're going to try and increase the sustainability. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Anyone else? Senator Favela.
You guys can sit down. Sorry. I understand what you're saying. It's hard to gauge it and all of this. So we're having people coming to the community trying to make fish cage and fisheries and all of these kinds of stuff. So if we kind of get that from you guys in how we're gonna go forward in gauging our seafood supply, or even having that going forward. How we know if we are gonna be in a crisis for seafood in our state with the overfishing, over everything, outsiders from foreign countries coming into our area and overfishing and taking back to their country and selling it back to us? How can we go about the process in stopping that and making sure that our seafood industry grow and strive?
Aquaculture is really the solution, as overfishing is an issue. And it's the permitting process, I think, that we're focusing on this year. I will let Todd expand on how the permitting process has been tough, but we are trying to streamline it with meetings with all the stakeholders.
Right, thanks, Senator. Yes, so what Chair Hurd is referring to is our coordination with NOAA on streamlining or aligning their federal water aquaculture stuff with the state water jurisdiction requirements. But I think what you're talking about, one of the disconnects is seafood includes both farm seafood and wild caught, right? And DOA handles the farm side because that's agriculture, right? And the wild catch is through NOAA. And that's where this information, when nobody looks at seafood holistically. And that might be something that you folks want to consider right now, because that's where it's sort of a challenge between where our jurisdictions are. But seafood as a whole, for Hawaii as a small state, might be the opportunity. That might be the opportunity where we're
Well,
going.
to address the concerns that our Molokai Senator Decoy talked about sustainability for seafood, and this bill requires the functional plan to be updated to include the agriculture economic updates with regards to updating the seafood sustainability. So I think if we end up collaborating with all of you, including DLNR, I think we need to move forward, because aquaculture, we can't rest. We have to do something this year, because we all heard and have been into conferences that talked about our economic sustainability with food security. And so I think we need to sharpen our pens and everything else. And to add to Senator's comments with regards to, I guess, the resources. So we'll probably add to that as well. Because when you do the updating, you probably would want to do a contract and have someone else do the contracts, working with all the agencies so that we can move faster.
Okay.
Okay, would that pretty much help? Because this bill is not one with appropriation. Will do. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks so much.
moving on to the next measure, Senate Bill 2155, relating to ag land use potential, requiring the Department of Ag to contract a third-party entity to compile a report evaluating the ag land use potential of each parcel of state-owned lands greater than 5 acres, excluding commercial, residential, and Department of Education lands. And first up is Department of Ag.
Good afternoon again, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. The department stands on our submitted testimony, respectfully offering comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is DLNR, Emma Ewan.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Ryan Kanako-Ole, First Deputy DLNR. With me is Emma Ewan, Division of Forestry and Wildlife DLNR. The department provided written comments on this bill. In some, we recommend that the study proposed in this bill consider water recharge needed for agricultural production, including consideration of the state's agricultural Water Use and Development Plan, which recommends protection of existing watersheds and reforestation to promote water recharge. We also recommend that the proposed study be conducted jointly by the Department of Agriculture and the DLNR. Thank you for allowing us to offer this testimony. We're here for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Miyamoto from Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. The Hawaii Farm Bureau supports the intent of this measure. We absolutely support evaluating the ag land use potential for state-owned lands. We do hear concerns that some of the state-owned lands are vacant. If we want to increase food production, we want to get more farmers on those lands. But we want to find out what's good to produce on those lands. We do suggest that if this measure moves forward and the department is tasked to do this work, we request that the third party selected does at least take a look at the 2015 statewide agriculture land use baseline and the 2020 update. There was a lot of work that was done by the department, so that may be some valuable information versus just starting from scratch. We also like to clarify, because it is, I guess, state-owned ag or lands for agricultural use, if DOA is required to identify and evaluate state-owned conservation lands also. There is exclusions, commercial, residential, and DOE lands, and it's in section 2, page 2, but it doesn't say any other exclusions. So I'm not sure if the intent was just to look at state-owned agricultural lands for ag production or any other lands that's not part of that exclusion. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Brian. Nicole Galassi from the Hawaii Cattlemen's Council.
Chair Inouye, Chair Gabbard, members of the committee, my name is Nicole Galassi. I'm the Managing Director for the Hawaii Cattlemen's Council. You have our testimony. We stand on our written testimony in support of this measure. The reason for this is that keeping ag lands and ag production has been our top priority for some time. For ranchers, land management is top of mind because they do so much to make sure that these fuel fire loads are kept in check, and they do see lands that are unmanaged, and that's a worry. We'd like to point out that the state baseline reports that Brian mentioned, pasture is in decline. We think that identifying these lands is a good step towards seeing what's out there, but then the next step would be actually getting people on those lands, figuring out what the best use is, and then getting people on those lands. Thank you for the opportunity to support.
Thank you, Nicole. Next is Lohelani Furtado Gaspar. Is in support. Members, are there any questions?
Okay, Farm Bureau, just a comment with regards to why the conservation district lands were, because this bill is to DOA and the conservation lands are in DLNR. Maybe that's why it's not in the measure, but it doesn't preclude the contractor to look at the conservation district lands anyway with regards to the measure. Thank you for bringing that up to us.
Sure.
Senator Favela.
All right. Do you have an existing, like inventory for all the state AG lands? For all the AG lands, you guys have like an inventory of what you guys have?
Thank you, Senator Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. I believe that question is better suited for the State Department of Agriculture.
And the next question is.
Answer would be yes.
Yeah, so we don't have a lot of private agricultural companies like Dole and so forth and Peter Savio going forward, yeah? What is your guys' stance on these homes that is being built on those old land up in Kunia, using Ag 1, A land to continue to build with no permits, nothing going forward, and they're not even farming it? How can we go about putting some kind of restriction? Do you guys have any input on that?
Thank you, Senator. Our position is an absolute travesty. Agricultural land should be for agriculture production. There have been attempts over the years to address the gentleman farms. Unfortunately, seen more and more of those. Enforcement is something that needs to happen. Again, our position has always been agriculture production should be the primary activity on agricultural lands. Now, there are other activities that are allowed per Chapter 205. Our office is in Kunia, maybe a mile down the road from there, and every day it seems like I see more and more homes being built. Now, there are some farms up there. That's neither a subdivision nor a CPR. That's something else. That's some smart folks that figure out a way to find a loophole and to build homes. There's not supposed to be any homes up there. Not even another potable water. So we see a proliferation more and more of this. And, we're already under extreme pressure, land use, from regular development, housing development, and now with renewable energy. That should be agricultural lands. It's surrounded by agriculture. If you go at night, you can see the lights there. So we know that there are homes and there needs to be some enforcement there and protections that we have been working on with the legislature on protecting agricultural lands, especially our most productive agricultural lands for agriculture production. We also suggest possibly looking at the rural designation. That might be the buffer where agriculture is not a requirement and maybe gentlemen farms can go there. Those that want the lifestyle, but not necessarily having the requirements of ag production. That's what agricultural lands are for.
But to follow up the senator's comments with regards to ag lands and residentials, but that's a county's jurisdiction. There's developers that come up before the county to build the subdivisions. So are you folks participating in sending comments? Because you can't build without the permitting, which counties, that's their jurisdiction. So, that needs to be addressed because no matter what we do in protecting ag lands, and I pretty much, support what the senator is saying from Eva, but I think the proliferation will continue. So the jurisdiction, again, the developers don't come to the state for permitting systems.
Thank you, Chair. Absolutely, and looking at the Vice Chair. It is time the City Council of Honolulu, he introduced and was an advocate for Bill 10, which was a land use ordinance update, but it did include agriculture, and that is something that meetings with Senator Elefante, that was one of the primary goals for those updates in Bill 10, which is now Bill 64. So we are still working here in Honolulu with the City and County of Honolulu. Absolutely, it's a zoning issue. It's an enforcement issue. Senator Elefante was a champion trying to address that, trying to make sure that we preserve, at least here on Oahu, our most productive agricultural lands. And it's something that is taking a while. And we're still doing, he's been in the Senate for a year already. And we're still working on that. But the farming community is really looking at the problem that we have, not just here on Oahu, but across the state.
I understand what Senator Inouye is saying, but from your knowledge, how much actual Department of Planning permits those homes have up there? Because they have no tax map key, they're not segregated, so it's impossible. None of them have. That's the thing. And we as the state need to look at that in working on what laws they're breaking. Not just the city and county, they're breaking state laws in building illegal structures on Farm A land. Reason why I bring this up, it took 25 years for Ho'opili to be built because they was on B land. 25 years. These houses are coming up in a day on A land. So where's the common ground? That's what I was asking. Because none of them has permits, Senator. None of them.
Thank you, Senator. That's why
None
I
of
use
them
the
cannot
phrase,
be
it's a
cannot be
travesty.
issued because they don't have tax map key.
So they're not paying taxes? Real property
There's only
taxes?
one.
Randomly.
There's only
Oh,
one
okay, all
map
right.
key.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's why they get
Department of
500
Ag.
mansions on that
Okay.
property.
Senator DeCoy?
Dexter, of the 1.6 million acres that the state owns, how many acres are farmed and how many are unfarmed?
From my understanding, sorry, Dexter Kishida, Deputy Hawaii Department of Ag. all of our, I can't say all, majority of our ag parks and our non-ag park lands are in production. I can't say all because some are in transition or being transitioned, but majority of them do stay in production.
Just an approximate.
I'd have to check with my team. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Apologies.
Can you get back to us?
I can.
And then my next question is, how many of these farmers and ranchers are still in demand of those lands?
We have a list of almost just under 300 that are on a wait list to get onto agricultural land.
So will the transfer of the other lands on the Act 90 help?
The Act 90 lands are already in production, so it won't reduce that list by much, short of, some turnover that happens.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Senate Bill 2495, relating to water metering. Exempts from acreage assessments land occupiers who have not applied for water service for the following year by an unspecified date, requires the Board of Ag to amend its administrative rules to require Department of Ag to maintain an active record of land occupiers within the boundaries of an irrigation district that have not applied for water service or water service connections as prospective consumers and have not drawn water without authorization. And there's more. So let's start off with Department of Ag.
Good afternoon, Dexter Kishida, Department of Agriculture. The department stands on our testimony in providing comments on this bill. Specifically, a lot of it we do functionally, but understand the intent of this to really help our farmers that are in transition, not on our ag parks, to be able to not continue to have fees compounded onto their irrigation or water bills.
Okay, thank you. Next is Charles Ice from the Environmental Caucus, Democratic Party, in support. Brian Miyamoto from Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. What's done on our position support of this measure?
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions?
Sure.
Senator Decoy?
Department of Ag, please. So Dexter, thank you for being here. You know for many years that our water users, not just on Molokai, but across the state, have had challenges with the department. Many of those farmers that have been farming for many, many years no longer farm, and yet you guys continue to charge them without providing any type of education about putting in a letter. They've been charged, and there's delinquencies that are based on the department not educating them about putting in a letter to say we no longer farm. More so, you guys taking the meters, knowing that they're no longer farming, and acreage assessment has increased some of their water bills to the thousands of dollars, and yet the department comes out to say Native Hawaiian farmers are delinquent on their water bill. One is, how you guys plan on addressing this? Because it's been going on for years. And why does the DOA not provide written notice when you guys are taking that meter?
I will check with my team why written notice is not being done, because you're very correct, it should be. And
I'm
in
going to tell
fact,
you why. And the chair left. She should have been here because she knew what I was going to say. Because she refuses to do that, and so does the Board of Agriculture. They want them to know on their own. And many of our kupunas that have farmed and ranch does not know that. So why wouldn't you guys issue down one letter to these guys to say, this is what you need to do and let us help you?
Right.
I get farmers that sitting there without one water meter that you guys took. And yet the department's looking the other direction, when these water meters that you guys took could be issued to somebody else that could be farming. So how is it that the Department of Ag is trying to help them and yet kill the guys that have given most of their lives to farm all these years and now being held with bills in $40,000 on acreage assessment.
I hear what you're saying. I will get back to you when I check with my team. My understanding is the water meters are only removed when we receive a written notification, but I'm hearing that's not the
That
case.
is bullshit, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I seen the water meter removed in front of my face, okay? And they've taken them, and the employees, Lance Kanekua guys and Bruce guys have told you guys that. That is back when Randy was there. So you guys cannot tell me that. I know you knew, Dexter, but this isn't right, what you guys doing, and you guys need to clean this up. The other issue is that when this came before the board and Senator Richards was there, it had heavy opposition on the water rate increases, and it was because you guys had burdened these farmers and ranchers after you guys removed those meters. I think that's unfair what you guys doing, and you guys need to correct that. And if you guys do not support any of those if you guys not going look at what those farmers are trying to do and trying to remove that, then you guys need to explain your position. And it cannot be you guys gonna get back to us, because this goes way back when Scott Enright was there.
Understood.
Thank you.
Question for you. Are those lands that Senator Decoy talks about, are they on leased, DOA leased lands?
No, because the DOA leased lands require them to stay in production. Otherwise, we're needing to move them out of those lands.
Correction, and I'm sorry,
No.
yes, they are. Yes,
There
they are, and the delinquency on those state lands in the ag park has literally given those that were non-Hawaiians, no offense, the right to transfer those lands that you guys gave to the next person. And I'm gonna tell you what happened when it was done on Hawaiian homelands. The delinquency that was left there was then given to the next person to pick up and pay that bill before they could use them. And that one person was me, okay? And the ag park, the bill file transfer land, then went on to another farmer. And you guys need to check your guys' books, because it's really screwed up, which is why I kept on this thing from the get-go. They should sue you guys for that.
That's just gonna ask that question. That's gonna ask that question.
Okay. Senator Richards.
Yeah, thank you. Deputy, this water issue is a big deal, and this predates you by decades, but also more recently, there's an inconsistency in the charge of the water. And I want you to go back, and I know you don't have this information in front of you, but what the assessment, the acreage assessment, was initially put in for. It's my understanding that may be a good reason to have that eliminated completely, but there's also an inconsistency across the different systems of how it gets billed out. Department of Agriculture should be more concerned about the revenue that the whole economy of agriculture generates than what it collects from water. You've heard me say that before, but I want you to go back and revisit that, because this is a very sensitive subject if we are truly interested in promoting agriculture. Thank you,
Understood.
Okay. Senator Vella?
Yeah. Two quick questions. What is the DOA process in use to charge the land occupiers for water?
There's two different fees. One is the acreage assessment, which is similar to CAM, or the common area maintenance, where the total amount of cost is then divvied up between all users. And whether it's a staffed system versus an unstaffed system like Kahuku, there's a different percentage that each system will pick up. Then on the other actual water fees, it's different, currently at around 50 cents.
So when did this take place? How long ago did this policy come in for this CAM, or whatever you're talking about?
I will need to check when the last time it was adjusted, but it's been a while.
Okay, then, so they don't, are there separate meters for each of the land occupiers?
Yes, there should be.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. All right, moving on to our next bill. Senate Bill 2329. relating to aquaculture, appropriates funds including for positions, equipment, and maintenance and operating costs for mullet production for fish ponds and stock enhancement. Oh, wait a minute, before we get on, I'm sorry, I cut off, we had a couple other testifiers on 2495. Charles Ice from the Democratic Party was in support, is he here? And also Brian Miyamoto from, he's not here as well, also in support. Okay, so moving back to 2329. First up is DLNR.
Good afternoon, Ryan Kanakole, Department of Land and Natural Resources. DLNR stands on its written testimony offering comments, and we'd like to note that the appropriation will enhance the department's ability to support mullet production and other restorative aquaculture projects throughout the state. We're here for questions.
Thank you. Department of Ag.
Dexter Kishida, Deputy at Department of Agriculture. The department stands in full support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dexter. Charles Ice, Democratic Party, Environmental Caucus in support. Ron Wiedenbach from the Hawaii Aquaculture and Aquaponics Association in support. Also in support, Leilani Naipo, Sunny Savage, and Katie Kealoha from the Waianae Marine Science Learning Center. And Olan Lemomi Fisher, the Kuaina advocate, is he here? Or also in support? Any questions, members? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
She's here.
Hi, aloha.
Aloha.
I'm Olane Momi Fisher with Kuaina Ulu Awamo, and we're in strong support of this measure. Thank you so much for hearing it. We stand on our testimony, but I just wanted to highlight just 3 main points that this appropriation would contribute to our state's food security. It would provide jobs for a growing number of people who are very interested in aquaculture and working with native fish pond practitioners. And it would also, for anyone that's familiar with fish ponds, knows that functioning fish ponds work to contribute to the greater fish populations outside of the fish pond walls. So this appropriation would basically work to increase aina momona, which is abundance in Hawaii for a thriving biocultural ecosystem once again. So let's bring the Onai back to Waianae, and just mahalo everyone for hearing it.
Thank you. Okay, members, any questions? Hearing none? Yes. Question?
Department of Agriculture. So what would be the process of establishing more types of these programs in the schools? Apparently, we're not having it anywhere else, but would you know, like, what would be the process of pushing it? Because we had that with Mr. Chow at Campbell High School, but because they built a new building, kind of lost some of that space. But there's any way of encouraging, because you hear Senator De La Cruz all the time talking about, getting jobs for these kids when they leave school, need to have a pathway. So what would your future pathway would be this for the kids leaving school?
Thank you, Dexter Kishida, Department of Agriculture. We're currently iterating this with the Department of Education and what this could look like, because not every school is going to hold an aquaculture program, but there are definitely some key places that would make sense, because either there's going to be a future aquaculture park or aquaculture in the community that can happen. So we haven't identified sites yet. One of the challenges is getting qualified instructors that are certified DOE teachers and subject matter experts. So that means also working with the University of Hawaii system to ensure that we can get these duly trained teachers to also get into our DOE. So it's really building all of these, the network of pipelines to feed into our keiki to bring them up, and then creating on the back end, the areas where they could actually thrive in a job.
What about the community colleges? That too?
Absolutely. So that when I talk about UH, it definitely means community
I
colleges.
only know one UH, that's the one in
Sorry.
Norwalk. The rest is.
Community
it's all
college
good.
system as well, most definitely.
UH Bristol always good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next is Senate Bill.
Chair.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
two questions.
Question?
DLNR? Thank you. In addition to the 4.5 million appropriation, how much will you need on a continuing basis to keep the program going for mullet production and stock enhancement?
Yeah, I think we put in for operating funds, the bill, I want to say it was 150,000 a year for operating funds, which isn't,
Yeah, for 2024, 2025. Yeah.
150?
Page 4. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 150,000, that's probably on the low side of, supporting 4 different facilities, but, there is other funding opportunities. I think the staffing is the big priority because, you can write grants to get operating funds, but getting that staffing so that you can continue a program, that's the big priority.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, quick question.
Yes, Senator Richards.
Builan? You seem impassioned about this, and I'm curious about that. As far as the program, you heard comments from DOA concerning certified teachers and all that. What's your opinions to get this thing started? Not 5 years from now, but to start.
Well, it's already, they've already been working for a while, and KUA has actually worked with DAR and with Waianae High School on this request. So I feel like they already know what they need to do, and this is a key step toward actually making it happen.
So you don't think we'll get stuck trying to get this thing going forward?
I hope not. We'd work very hard not to.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Next is Senate Bill 2147 relating to reuse zones. Department of DLNR Commission on Water Resource Management, reuse zones. It requires non-potable water users and developers of real property located within a certain distance of wastewater treatment plants to use R1 water. And first up is Board of Water Supply.
Chair Inouye, Chair Gabbard, Vice Chairs and members. Kathy Mitchell with the Board of Water Supply. We stand on our written testimony in support. And moving forward, Barry Usagawa with Water Resources says that if we were to establish reuse zones on maps, that the BWS would focus on the BWS pass zone, not in the no pass zone where their BWS sources, water sources are. Same thing like the landfill.
So within the
Like
the
Caprock.
area like Honolulu,
Yeah.
you'd be within the confines of that land area.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, because I can see that infrastructure cost is going to be very expensive. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for being here, Kathy.
Next is DLNR, Neil Fujii.
Good afternoon, Ryan Kanakole, DLNR. DLNR offered written comments on this bill. We support the appropriate use of recycled wastewater. However, we note that the feasibility of using R1 water within a certain distance of wastewater recycling facilities is affected by several factors, including existing infrastructure, quality of water, and the reuse guidelines. The legislature approved funding in fiscal year ending 2025 to conduct a statewide assessment on using reclaimed water at state and county facilities to conduct a study on water security. The department recommends waiting for the results of this study before establishing reuse zones. We're here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Department of Health.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members, John Nadanto, Department of Health.
stand by our written testimony with comments. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Micah Munakata from Ulupono is in support. Charles Ice from the Environmental Caucus in support. Members, any questions?
Chair.
Yes. Senator Fonte?
Thank you, Chair. Questions for DLNR, please? Thank you, Deputy Director. Just two questions for you. The bill leaves blank on the distance to recommend, within the wastewater treatment plant. So do you have a proposed distance?
I'm going to defer to Neil on this distance question.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. Neil Fuji with DLNR CWORM. No, we don't have a recommended distance, and like Deputy mentioned, so many factors go into your proximity to your recycled water plant and distribution system, right? So it's going to really depend case by case. That's why our deputy recommended, seeing what the results of the study say. And it's really very case by case.
And as a follow-up to that, you mentioned the study. When do you plan to have the study by?
Good question. We haven't, because it's FY25 funding, so we still have to, hopefully it stays in the budget, and then we have to request release. So I would say 2 years since when funding is released.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Question?
Richards?
Yeah. Department of Health. Could you clarify for me? It's my understanding that R1 water can be used for irrigation, but not for food production. Is that correct?
John Nagata, Department of Health. That it can be used for food crops, but I don't think it can be sprayed directly onto, it has to be like at the root. You don't want to be spraying on top of,
Is that consistent with other jurisdictions' policy?
meaning other states. Or
Other states?
I'm not the expert.
Could I ask you to look into that,
Yes.
please, and get back to the
We
the
do,
committees?
our recycled water program is based off of California's Title 22, which is like a long-standing, high-level treatment, which that's what our basis of recycled water.
Okay, but California is not the only state, so
Correct.
if we could look at other jurisdictions,
So you
please.
want to see how we compare to all.
Not necessarily all, but other jurisdictions. Okay. And then get back to both committees, please.
Can I
Thank you.
add to Senator Richards' comments as well? I've been to Okinawa as well as looking at the Japan's process. And they have excellent work that they do with reuse. And I believe a lot of their waters are used for pretty much parks, the ones that I've seen, but I think they're upgraded by now. Another thing too is that, going back to the comments from DLNR, interesting too, because I think you did say that, did you say in your comments with regards to the where it's going to be built? You said stay away from the treatment plants? Is that what I heard you say? The distance?
Sorry, Deputy Ryan Kanako-Ole, DLNR. Our comments were said that the feasibility of these connections is dependent on the distance from the wastewater facility, not how close it is. It's just dependent on how close where the water travels and the existing infrastructure.
Oh, okay, because if, with the sitting county, the Board of Water Supply saying that, it's best to have it within the infrastructure of the wastewater. And as an example, if you look at outside of Oahu, I think all our wastewater treatment plants, they got lots of land, the counties. You look at Kona, the county of Hawaii right now is, hopefully they can get on board and start working on their old system, which we've been bugging them to get going because, you know, they've been paying a lot on EPA's fines. But I was just kind of curious. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a question for DOH. What appropriation amounts would DOH require for enforcement?
Yeah, not, from my understanding, we don't have anybody that's been looking into with that cost. We only have enforcement for our regular treatment plants, but it does include the recycle plants.
Right.
Actually, I'm the one recycle water person. So, yeah, we'd love to be able to like look into what that would cost across the state.
So in other words, we're really behind
Yes.
in reuse
Yes.
projects.
Staff-wise especially. Yes.
Okay, and that's why there's this bill. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Oh, Senator.
Yes,
Boyd.
Senator Corey?
So, DLNR. So the purpose of this act is to require non-potable water users or developers of real property located within certain distances of a wastewater treatment plant to use R1 water for non-potable water usage, right?
Yes.
Is the R1 water readily available?
Well,
Good afternoon, Neil Fuji with the DLNR, CWORM. Thank you for the question, Senator. The water is available. I would defer to DOH because DOH regulates the operation and projects for recycled water. But there are several recycled water plants in most of the islands ready for R1. And the challenges are the storage and distribution because normally recycle or wastewater is meant to be disposed of instead of reused. So.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Let's see here. Then moving on to SB 2149. Relating to permits. Requires DLNR to approve or deny an application related to aquaculture within 90 days from the date it was submitted. Establishes 2 full-time equivalent positions within the Division of Aquatic Resources to support the permit review process. First up is DLNR.
good afternoon, Ryan Kanakaole, Department of Land and Natural Resources. The DLNR supports this bill, provided that it does not adversely impact the priorities indicated in the executive fiscal year ending 2025 supplemental budget request. We've also offered written comments. We appreciate the frustration from some of the permit applicants. Our rate of processing is impacted by a lack of full-time permitting staff and the complexity of some of the aquaculture permit requests we receive. The increased capacity afforded by this bill, however, will make it possible for the department to process most, if not all, of these requests within the 90 days. We're here for questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Next is Department of Ag.
Dexter Kishida, Deputy at Department of Agriculture. The department stands in support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. And the following are also in support: Ron Wiedenbach, Wilani Naipo, Maria Haas, Cecilia Viljoen, and Clayton Kubo. Members, any questions?
Question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please.
I apologize. Inga Gibson for the Fishes, Friends of Hanama Bay, Kalanahali, Pu'u, Pono. In support, I apologize, I actually combined our testimony in SB 2149. We are in strong support of this measure and appreciate those businesses that may have been impacted because of the holdup in the processing. However, we do recommend that the bill also apply to those permits issued under 187A, which are called special activity permits. These are the issues that were raised in 2148. I'll testify on that, but there is some confusion here with regards to the need for exemptions to the aquarium permit requirement, whereas really what we need is this bill. This bill is needed to expedite bona fide research and food aquaculture efforts in place of SB 2148. And just wanted to clarify that we would actually recommend lowering it to 30 or even 45 days instead of 90 days for the turnaround on the permits. That would be ideal with the staffing that's requested. So strong support.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Thank you.
questions? Senator DeCoy?
DNR, please. Right, thank you. So while the bill permits the 90 days, how long does it take now?
So average processing time, I'm told by staff, is 1.5 months to 4 months. I think if you polled the research and aquaculture community, they may differ on their average. I know we get quite a bit of emails, frustrating emails about the length of the processing time.
So if we establish the 2 new positions, do you think you can hire people, or will the 2 positions just end up on your current vacancy list?
On our current vacancy list, just re-describe, I think that would be tough because then it takes away from those, but we are, like our current vacancy list, we did re-describe one of those to a permitting biologist, so once that's filled, it would be up to 3, but I think it's just always that balance of, okay, what are you gonna take from somewhere else to be able to fill this need?
But it should help though, right?
It should help,
Speed up the
yeah,
process.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Chair?
All right, we'll move on to SB 2205, and this is relating to permits. This requires DLNR to approve or deny an application related to aquaculture within 90 days from the date that it was submitted, establishes 2 full-time equivalent 2.0 full-time positions within the Division of Aquatic Resources to support the permit review process, declares the general fund expenditure ceiling is exceeded, makes an appropriation. I'm sorry, I am wrong. Sorry, I read your 2149. Okay, eyes focused. SB 2205. I think these people have been waiting too long, so I think we're getting it. Okay, we probably wanted you to stay longer. SB 2205 relating to commercial use permits. This amends the state boating law policy to include a provision to promote and attain every person's right to a clean and healthful environment, prohibits DLNR from renewing a commercial use permit if renewal would cause nearshore water overcrowding or harm or potential threats to the environment. Okay, DLNR, Ed Underwood, or our deputy?
Good afternoon, Ryan
Good
Kanakaole. DLNR. DLNR offered written comments on this bill. Specifically, we note that denying renewal of a commercial use permit without objective data or evidentiary records to support, or the sufficient evidentiary record to support that decision, the denial decision, will be open for challenge. We believe that renewal of these types of permits are better suited through our administrative rules. As part of DLNR's bill package, we address environmental impacts, user conflict, and safety in our state waters. These bills are Senate Bills 3163, 3164, 3165, and 3166. And we look forward to your support of these bills, and we are here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Testifying for Maui County Council, Chair Alice Lee, sends communication in support. Explore Kauai Scuba, Nick Croft.
Aloha, thank you
Aloha.
for having me, Chair, Vice Chair, and committees. My name is Nick Croft, and I am co-owner of Explore Kauai Scuba. I stand before you today to voice my strong opposition to SB 2205. While the intention of this amendment may seem great at first, I firmly believe that it fails to find a real solution and poses a huge risk to communities and their jobs. SB 2205 would create a situation where many jobs will be lost statewide. The whole purpose of SB 2205 is to help protect the environment. However, by possibly removing these businesses and their employees, it will do the opposite. I am a huge advocate for the environment and protecting it. We spend our lives in and around the ocean cleaning and protecting it. If issues in our environment start to rise, we are usually the first to catch it. I run a small scuba shop that takes out small groups of no more than 6 people per day. The entire 4 to 5 hour trip is dedicated to teaching about our Hawaiian reefs, how to protect them, and how they can carry this concept back home to their communities, close and afar. We conduct voluntary reef cleanups on the regular and have removed tons of ghost nets and other debris from the ocean, as well as volunteering our time in our vessel for whale entanglements, for humpbacks, whale sharks, etc., on our own dime. Without this company, I could not afford to do this. However, this proposed amendment takes a misguided approach by solely focusing on restricting commercial use permits without addressing a real solution when or if a problem were to occur. The proposed amendment could have detrimental economic consequences for businesses and communities dependent on these activities for their livelihoods throughout the entire state. I urge you all to join in opposing SB 2205. Please, please, please. While I share the goal of promoting a clean and healthful environment for all, I cannot support this proposed amendment to the state voting law policy. Thank you so kindly.
Nick, Jessie Croft, is that your wife? Is that the same comments?
Yeah.
Okay, how's your time? You okay? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is Jessie Croft.
Jesse, yep. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee, for giving me the opportunity to testify before you today. I oppose Bill SB 2205. My name is Jesse Croft. My husband and I have a commercial ramp permit out of Kikiaʻola Small Boat Harbor on the west side of Kauai. We run a scuba diving tour operation that takes up to 6 people per charter. Similar to last year's House Bill 1090, this bill on paper seems well-intentioned and good for the environment. What doesn't pop out to you when you read this proposed bill is how many human lives and businesses this bill will potentially destroy. I want to quickly summarize the intent of this bill. The Department of DLNR shall not renew a commercial use permit if there is nearshore water overcrowding, the activity has caused harm to the environment, the activity has harassed wildlife, the activity has disrupted the natural ecology, or the activity poses a threat to the environment. It sounds great. We all hate crowded beaches, and of course, no one wants wildlife to be harassed or the environment to be threatened. The phrase "shall not renew a commercial permit" sounds like not a big deal. The reality of not renewing a commercial permit is you will end an entire business, a business that the DLNR allowed us to start when we were issued a commercial permit. Personally, my husband and I started this business from the ground up. We don't come from money, so we had to take out many business loans, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business loans that are still working hard to pay off. The idea of our commercial permit not being renewed causes me great distress. Last year, while we were trying to get House Bill 1090 vetoed, the distress felt unbearable. It felt like we were under attack, and it feels like that all over again. I know for a fact that many other businesses who are at risk of losing their permits also built their businesses from the ground up. Some of these businesses are extremely successful and provide careers for many people, provide an income for many families. Shutting down boating businesses will have a butterfly effect too. Boating businesses hire catering service to feed tourists on tours, mechanics to fix motors, fiberglass workers to fix dinged hulls, accountants to do their bookkeeping, CPAs to file their taxes, social media marketers to get their business name out there, t-shirt printing services, that's just to name a few. Again, there are no other ways to go about environmental impacts than just shutting down. There are many other ways to go than just shutting down.
Time's
Yep,
up,
okay.
but we do have your
Thank you, guys.
copy. And just to let you know, you've heard DLNR did say that there are several administration bills similarly that they support the other bills. I'm wondering if you folks had a chance to
I heard that, and I'm
review,
gonna
but maybe
check 'em out. Yep.
you can go online and watch it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Zach LaPrade, you're on Zoom. Zach, IT?
Yes. Hi, Chair Noy, Zach LaPrade with the Ocean Tourism Coalition. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. Chairs, Vice Chairs, member of the committee. As I just said, quickly for the record, I'm Zach LaPrade, the Board of Directors for the Ocean Tourism Coalition. I am deeply familiar with the boating industry. I know the stakeholders, I know DLNR, DAR, and I know the issues that are facing this industry. All year, my colleague Denver and I will be here as a resource for this committee to ask tough questions, because this year's bill lineup includes a lot of scary bills for our industry. And I appreciate the Crofts and their testimony, because I feel the same way. With that said, we agree with DLNR in that this bill permits subjectivity and circumvents the Rule 91 rulemaking process in which stakeholders like Jesse and his wife and our business can participate in, and allowing stakeholder input to rules. With that, we will rest on our written testimony, and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Nathaniel Fisher, Nepali experience. Aloha. Thanks for bearing with us today.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Nathaniel Fisher, founder and owner of Nepali Experience on the island of Kauai. I have concerns about Bill SB 2205 because of the overly harsh tactics presented as the only solution. If you seek to be fair, you need to consider how things got to where they are. Government legally issued the permits. Permit holders then invested their lives and livelihoods into these operations. And now the same government aims to take their permits, businesses away, for in many cases, no fault of their own. I support safety. I share the same environmental concerns. I support not overcrowding precious natural areas, but I do not support stripping people of their livelihoods against their will and without compensation to no fault of their own. No one should support that, regardless of their personal involvement in the industry or not. I would hope that we all aim to treat people as humanely and fairly as possible. In the event of overcrowding, safety, and environmental concerns, please instead seek reasonable and mindful solutions. Believe me, there are many. There could be allotted time slots to overcrowded areas, more marine life enforcement with stricter penalties to solve marine life concerns, cleaner engine technology requirements for environmental concerns, etc. Point is, there are many solutions to the various potential problems without decimating livelihoods. Consider using a scalpel instead of an axe, as these permit holders are not criminals and should not be treated as such. In most cases, they are hardworking, honest, caring members of the community that have created many jobs and generated a great deal of tax revenue. Please don't forget that small businesses are the backbone of a healthy, functioning economy, and they should be treated fairly and respectfully. To be clear, if a permittee is in violation of a law or rule, that is an entirely different story, and revoking their permit should be strongly considered. This bill may have good intentions, but not reissuing existing permits to law-abiding, responsible permit holders without first attempting simpler solutions is not pono. Therefore, I oppose Bill SB 2205. Mahalo for your time.
Thanks, Nathaniel. Sunny Savage, individual in support. Librado, is it Librado or Librada? Librado Cobian? Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Lee Cobian, I'm here as a private citizen, and I work here at the legislature, and I was approached by a lot of ocean recreation operators, and they're like, "Hey, can you help us with this? You know, we're really concerned, especially about their exercise and discretion of issuing permits. They want it to be a fair, selective process where there's a policy that is written, and these are guidelines in the selection." I'm going to be real honest. Many of them didn't want to come here. They're afraid to because they're afraid of retaliation. And I told them, just come, man. You know, just voice your opinion, and I'll park at my house. I'll bring it out. But so I came for them, and so I don't have a dog in this fight, but I just wanted to be fair, and I'm just conveying the message that they gave me. Thank you.
Okay. Where do you work? Can I ask you?
Pardon?
You said you work in this building?
I work with Dave Alcos. With Rep. Dave Alcos.
Okay.
But I'm here at a private capacity, though.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you had done your due diligence. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Tamara Pelton, in support. Let's see, there's Clayton Kubo. Zoom, IT, is Clayton on?
Yes, thank you very much for letting me testify on this measure.
Hi, Clayton.
Clayton Kubo, I'm in Hawaii. How's it, Senator Inouye? I come in strong opposition to this measure, and I'll stand on my written testimony. Mahalo for the time. Aloha.
Okay, thank you, Clayton. Okay, Tadashi Muratake, in opposition. Aloha.
Aloha, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, aloha, good afternoon. My name is Tadashi Muratake. I am from Kekaha, Kauai, and I'm in opposition of this bill 2205. And the main reason is I am in opposition of this bill is because I believe there are many other options we can explore before taking such extreme measures like revoking or denying somebody's permits. Because on Kauai alone, there are a number of single boat operators. They're just like Nick Croft guys. Revoking or denying permits to people like this would be devastating to them. I 100% believe there is a way we can address any and all stated issues in this bill without going through such extremes. So we should visit those opportunities first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carly Powell, in opposition. Aloha.
I want to thank the chair and members of this committee for allowing me to testify before you today. My name is Carly Powell, and I oppose Bill SB 2205. I am a captain and crew with the company Blue Ocean Adventures operating out of Kealoha Harbor on the west side of Kauai. We run a small company only taking out 14 passengers along the coastline. Last year's House Bill 1090 surprised us all. I had just acquired my captain's license after working on the coastline for 5 years. With my time on Kauai, I worked hard through the years as crew, getting more involved in the industry. I've learned more than I ever thought possible about the wildlife and ocean and history of Kauai. As I accumulated my sea time as crew, it soon came time to invest in my future as captain. A job turned career that I'm so passionate about. Like every other captain, I saved my money and studied hard. Having this job allows me not only to learn about the marine life for myself, but educate the guests we have on every day. It allows me to share my knowledge I've learned to help people and help people better understand about respecting and taking care of the island and the wildlife it has on and around the island. However, if this bill passes, I and so many others will no longer be able to grow, educate, and prosper in this industry. This is the story for so many of the people I work with and the families that have built their lives around this. It is frightening to think that this bill could potentially not allow our permits to renew, taking everything that we as individuals and as companies have worked so hard to maintain. This bill, SB 2205, focuses on the issues of overcrowding, harm to the environment, and the threat to natural wildlife. Those are all very important topics, but I believe there are a lot of other steps that we can work together as a strong community that doesn't require shutting down countless businesses and putting so many out of work. This is why I oppose Bill SB 2205.
Are you from Kauai as well?
I am originally not.
Okay. That's interesting because this bill is a Maui bill, Maui County Council. Yes, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else here wishes to speak on SB 2205? Please come forward. Thank you. Aloha.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with the website and how to make a reservation. So Senators, thank you very much for your time. And in regards to notification, I'd love to talk to you about that as well.
Your name, please.
I'm Jude Schwartz from the island of Kauai. I was born on the island of Oahu and have resided in Kauai since I was 3 years old.
I'm sorry, first name again?
Jude, J-U-D-E.
J-U-N?
J-U-D-E.
D-E, Jude,
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
Proceed.
In its form, Senate Bill 2205 is despicable, and I oppose its passage. It is punitive in existing permit holders, stewards of the resource. The ramifications of the bill are drastic and inflict great harm to many, if not all, permit holders. Much as myself have invested 20 years or more in the process and the dream. We created from nothing something, a compliant model, and provided stewardship of state facilities while our contributions go unrecognized. Many adversities face us in conducting the business we love: weather, extraordinary shutdowns, harbor closures, pandemics. Each time the permit stewards reach, it seems there is just another burden. But none expect to see their efforts annulled by the business partner that they must have. This bill is a stab in the back to all ocean access providers. There is a misconception that permit holders are the resource users. We are not. We are the service providers. The users are the guests that we educate and that share the passion with us. The bill eliminates 20+ years of effort and creates problems it has no solutions for. What do we do with our vessels once the state declares them homeless? This bill wipes out any gains any company may have made in creating a viable and valuable company and leaves all with the vessels that will have no home, no buyers, reducing further the value of our dreams to less than zero and creating a burden in this state for those now homeless vessels and business owners. The fees proposed are set on top of 300% harbor fee increases, 100% payroll increases, 200% fuel increases. The industry should not be persecuted or perceived as users to be mauled with overages. We are providers. We are providing jobs. Yes, captain, crew positions, but that is nothing. We provide accounting, office,
time's up,
marketing, graphic work, welding.
Jude.
I lost 15 seconds in the introduction. Mechanical, transportation, other services, and the list goes on. The bill not only takes away.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
we
I got
hear
you,
you.
but I did lose 15 seconds, so I just wanted to make that clear.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much
Appreciate you.
for taking time to be here as well. We'll proceed with SB 2148. And just to let all of you know, time is running out for us, but we'll be completing the hearing on SB 2148.
5 seconds. It's not a Maui County bill. First sentence reads the state, it amends state law. So it's
Yeah, but the introducer of the measure, yes, is coming from Maui County. Thank you. SB 2148 relating to aquarium fish permits exempts persons engaging in aquaculture research from the aquarium fish permit requirement. DLNR.
Good afternoon, Ryan Kanakole, Department of Land and Natural Resources. DLNR stands on its, good afternoon. DLNR stands on its written comments offered on this bill regarding the impacts of changing the definition of aquarium purposes under HRS Section 188-31. We believe this bill will support aquaculture research by making it easier for researchers to obtain research specimens for aquaculture. Thank you.
Mahalo. DOA.
Aloha, Dexter
Aloha.
Kishida, Department of Agriculture, Department stands in support.
Okay, thank you very much. University of Hawaii, Darren Lerner. Okay. Sends communication in support. Ron Weidenbach, testifying for Hawaii Aquaculture and Aquaponics Association in support. Inga Gibson. Mahalo for your patience as well today.
Thank you. Chairs, committee members, Inga Gibson on behalf of For the Fishes and 6 other organizations, strong opposition. There is some complete confusion with this bill. This bill attempts to amend 18831 that specifically relates to the collection and sale of aquatic life for aquarium purposes. No one engaged in aquaculture, let alone food aquaculture, has to have an aquarium fish permit. What would happen with the removal of scientific study would essentially open up the aquarium trade to anyone collecting using fine mesh nets under the guise of scientific study. That means they could collect the fish, ship them off to LA at a pet store and say, hey, our hobbyists, they're all engaged in scientific study. I've talked with some of the supporters of the bill. They are under the false impression that suddenly they need an aquarium permit to collect fish for food aquaculture. So this is a well-meaning bill, and we fully support SB 2149 that expedites the process for bona fide research under a special activity permit, under an aquaculture permit. But this creates a huge issue, and unfortunately, I think a lot of the organizations that are supporting are probably more frustrated with other processes, but opening up the commercial aquarium trade is not the answer. Devastating consequences, strong opposition.
I have to tell you, this measure has nothing to do with the aquarium permits. This separates what happened with the Amberger case that was just adjudicated.
Very
And the
familiar with it,
litigation. Yes.
We
What
did that,
happens
yeah.
is they added the aquarium permits, the aquaculture permits with the aquarium permits. What we're doing is separating this measure from the aquarium. So we're not talking
Yes.
about the aquarium activity as well. So it's just taking out the aquarium permits from the recent litigation. So
May I respond?
That's-
Because that
yes.
is actually not correct at all. And the best way to answer it is ask the Department of Agriculture, ask anyone involved in food agriculture, have you ever had to have an aquarium permit before to engage in aquaculture? The answer is no. That tells you that this is not the issue. The court ruling was in 2017. What have these organizations been doing in the meantime? The requirement for HEPA, the requirement for Chapter 343 under the court litigation has nothing to do with aquaculture. But if you're opening up this section, basically it's creating a massive loophole. And that's why in our extensive written testimony, I explained that the Umberger decision, again, with very well-intentioned, Senator, this statute relates specifically to aquarium purposes for sale. If we're talking about scientific study, we're not talking about commercial sale. If you open up this statute and amend it, we are creating commercial sale. So the thing to do is to amend 187A to expedite aquaculture permits, expedite special activity permits. Right now, under administrative rules, the Department of Land and Natural Resources can just give written authorization under HAR 1374-43. So why are they not doing that? This creates a nightmare in light of it. So appreciate your good intentions, but
Sure.
this is going to be
I
a
think-
poaching and
yeah.
enforcement nightmare.
We're just concerned that aquaculture will not be able to get going as well, but.
Okay, we
thanks-
support aquaculture,
Yeah.
not aquarium purposes, commercial sales. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we're not worried about aquarium fishing, but thank you anyway. So let's continue on, let's see. R.A. Culberson, Bigani Reef Keepers, Hui, in opposition. Glenn Fukuda, in support. Uilani Naipo, in opposition. Okay, Maria Hawes, in support. Randy Fernley, sends comments. Kim Koch.
They're not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Did you say not on Zoom?
Yes, that's correct, Chair.
Okay, and her communication is in opposition. Okay, anyone else wishes to speak to SB 2148? Okay, going once, going twice. Chair.
Okay, so the chairs have conferred, and because we have a hard stop at 2:40, and there are some issues that are unresolved, we will need more time. So the AEN Committee and Water Land, we will defer decision-making on all the measures until Wednesday, January 31st at 2:15 PM in room 224.
Okay, and Waterland, recommendation, just for your information, we're going to make decisions as well, as Chair Gabbard did say. But I do want to add that SB 2205, my decision, the recommendation is to defer that as well. And I'd like to continue to hear the administration's bill coming forward.
Okay, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Aloha.